Evan, I think when I remember we first saw your platform, pig butchering is a huge deal. But what you're showing me on your platform is, hey, you have crypto addresses, you have people's phone numbers, you have their location, and this is some of the information that exactly what Sandeep is talking about is that they're not coming in there with the crypto address and saying, hey, this is where I made the transfer. This is where intelligence is huge, where you're kind of compiling the story based on the information the bank would have, based on the information that a connected crypto exchange would have, based on domains they're using to kind of facilitate some of this pig butchering. What are some of the nexuses that you're seeing that you've been able to help some of the traditional financial institutions with?
Sure. I mean, look, I mean, that's part of the issue here. When you hear about pig butchering, and just so everyone is familiar with what we're talking about here, we're talking about basically romance scams that end up with people sending crypto to like fake crypto investment fronts or whatever. One of the challenges here, fundamental challenges, people hear about pig butchering and they throw up their hands and say, oh, it's too complicated a problem to deal with. We're never going to be able to intercept all these conversations. We're never going to be able to educate people to avoid these kind of scams. And I think that's part of the problem here because these are solvable issues. We may not be able to solve it every time, but we can address a lot of this. And I think we started thinking about this at Cloudburst. We were trying to think, how can we stop this if it's conversations that are taking place? There's no opportunity for a man in the middle. There's no place for us to observe when they're messaging. How can we do this? And we came up with ways of being able to detect the front ends, the actual front ends that they're using to take the crypto funds as they are being set up. So we can see them being set up. We can understand what's going on. We can pull out any crypto addresses or phone numbers are in there. And then that way we can alert traditional financial institutions, crypto exchanges, whoever it is, we can alert them and tell them these are known crypto fraud actors. They are involved in pig butchering. This is the front end. This is how much money is involved, et cetera, et cetera. We can do all that, right? We're only a small startup. We can do all that. And I think part of it is also, number one, we're partnering or we're working with Crypto ISAC in order to try to make sure that this information is getting out as widely as possible, because this information does have to be shared. And the second part of it is that there's different components of this. There's the first component, which is identifying the fraudster. The next component then is jumping and saying, okay, now we have a suspected fraudster, a pig butchering scam. We have a wallet address. Obviously, the next step is to go to a blockchain analysis company and start looking at the blockchain transactions and understanding, are there any other wallets that are connected in with this, either as victims or perpetrators or as conspirators or whatever. That's one of the reasons why we've partnered with Chainalysis. Obviously, the idea being there has to be a way of jumping from we found a wallet address to now looking what are the various different transactions this has been engaged with, right? And again, emphasizing the nature and the value of partnerships in this domain. Everyone does sort of a little different piece of this. We sort of have to be able to come together at some point to be able to make sure we're addressing this as an ecosystem, because these are solvable problems. Really, to say that we can't solve pig butchering and understanding who is behind pig butchering is just embarrassing. We hear about pig butchering schemes being tied into like different illicit networks in like Southeast Asia that were just sanctions put in place against a Cambodian politician and businessman. There are pig butchering schemes that are definitely originating in Southeast Asia. There are also pig butchering schemes that they're inside the house. They're right here in the United States. And the people that are doing them are not criminal geniuses by any means. So the fact that we're throwing up our hands and saying we can't solve this problem, it's a bit embarrassing because like the people that we're surrendering to here, this is not the Al Capone of cybercrime. So I think it is necessary for us to be able to share information and work together because these are solvable problems.